Options for freeing your true self. Be who you are meant to be. By Peter Gerlach. Break the cycle. Lesson 1.1 from 7. 1.33. Okay. Skipping the first paragraphs, as always, the sources are down below on the description box, and you can read them together. Okay. This is a part series of being able to free yourself and clean your childhood wounds. Okay. This article assumes you are familiar with the introduction to this non-profit website and premises underlining it, grown wounded children, GWCs, and what it means to be a grown wooden child. Q&A on 6 inherent psychological wounds, perspective of false self-dominance, the lethal wounds and unawareness cycle, and overview on personal wound recovery. Perspective. The content of this website is based on 36 years of clinical research and experience from Peter Gerlach. Okay? A conclusion from this research is that normal human personalities are composed and talented sub-selves like the members of an orchestra or sports team. Okay? These sub-selves are probably discrete regions of our brains programmed by genes and experience to perform specialized survival functions for us. A universal sub-self is an inherently talented leader, our true self. When he or she steadily guides and coordinates other sub-selves, people report feeling like this. When sub-selves distrust and disable this wise leader, they form a false self and cause behaviors like this. Typical people don't accept the ancient idea of normal personality sub-selves. Yet, through evidence of them is everywhere. If you are skeptical or curious about these sub-selves, read this letter to you after you finish this. Then experience a safe, interesting dialogue with one or more of your sub-selves. Status check. To benefit from this article in lesson 1, you need some key beliefs. Knowledge. Check yourself for this and by rating each of the following as true, T, false, F, or question mark, I don't know, I'm not sure, it depends on what. I accept that normal personalities are composed of a group of talented sub-selves or parts. True, false, question mark. Over 75% of the site visitors who respond to this poll say that they accept sub-self without question. I accept that one of my sub-selves, my true self, is a wise, far-seeing leader who knows how to guide my other sub-self effectively and make healthy decisions in all situations. I believe that well-intentioned sub-selves haven't learned to trust the leadership of myself, capital S, and disable him at time, causing unwise decisions and behaviors. I accept that being dominated by a false self can cause up to 5 specific psychological wounds, and I can name and describe each of them now. I have assessed myself honestly and psychologically wounds, or I am motivated to do so in the next week. I am a normal grown wooden child, and I know what that means. I can clearly describe the difference between pseudo-recovery and true recovered wound reduction. I have a general idea of what part works is, and I'm learning how to do it. I can name the general benefits of freeing my true self to guide my personality. Freeing my true self is among my top life priorities now, indeed. I can describe A, the wounds and unawareness cycle to an average teenager now, and B, the key steps to break the cycle. My true self is responding to this status check. If not, your responses may be distorted. Pause, breathe, and notice your thoughts, feelings now. If you answer true to the most of these questions, then you have the basic belief set needed to free your resident true self to guide you. If not, a well-intentioned, distrustful false self may be trying to protect you against scary changes. Requisites for freeing your true self. Reducing false self-dominance and other wounds is a major lifestyle change. It's a process that involves over many months and varies from each person. True, permanent versus pseudo, temporary. Recovery depends on key requisites like this. Hit true versus pseudo bottom and or experience an epiphany and commit to personal change. As a veteran family systems therapist, I have heard many stories about people who decided to empower their true self. Though every story is unique, most people seem to have one or both these event triggers in their commitment to personal recovery. Without them, wooden people seem to have pseudo-temporary recovers and eventually resume their old ways, relapse. In this context, an epiphany is a suddenly recognizing the reasons for lifelong pain, confusion, and loss. For example, fully accepting that you have experienced early childhood neglect, abandonment, and abuse trauma, and have been dominated by a false self for much of your life. The stunning impact of this realizing is like a blind person being able to see for the first time. A related motivator for recovery is a newly aware parent who vow not to pass the little wounds and unawareness cycle to their vulnerable kids and grandkids. Adopt a patient, long-range viewpoint. People in genuine wound recovery accept that their healing is a multi-year process. Freeing yourself permanently takes experiencing with intentional changes to old attitudes, priorities, beliefs, behaviors, learning from the results, and gradually changing your lifestyle. Take full responsibility for the quality of your life, health, and relationships. Before committing to a free their self, many grown wooden children play victim. They blame their parents, fate, siblings, the government, religions, employers, or other people for the pain in their lives. Other GWCs may moan, I can't help it, my toxic behavior. These attitudes always indicate false self-dominance. While most of us help along the way, we are ultimately responsible for your own recovery. With professional help, assess yourself for addictions. Typical addictions are false self-strategies to help self-medicate against major inner pain. You need to fully experience your pain to hit true bottom and attain clear awareness and thinking. Many veterans' recovery guides say that you must be sober, free of addictive thinking, behaviors, and relationships for 6 months or more before attempting lasting wound reduction. Ignoring or postponing this requisite is a sign of false self-dominance or pseudo-recovery. More requisites for freeing your true self over time. Learn accurate answers to these questions like this. What are personality sub-selves and why should I learn about them? What are common traits of my sub-selves? Who are my personality sub-selves and who usually leads them to calm, stressful times? How has a false self-dominant affected my life, family, relationships, health, and work especially? What do I need and what do I have to do to free my true self to guide me recover? How can I recognize and avoid pseudo-recovery? What do I need to learn permanently to reduce my psychological wounds and protect my descendants from inheriting them? How can I recognize a toxic relationship and what are my options when I do? How has my false self contributed to the mistake, losses, and painful relationships in my life? What can I do to improve my relationships and my communications effectiveness? What kind of recovery help do I need and how can I find it? How can I tell if my recovery is working? How can I identify and relate to unaware wounded adults and kids? And how is my moral responsibility to them and our wooden unaware society? Research these and related questions by studying and applying lessons 1 to 4 here. More requisites for freeing your true self. Break protective denials. A common false self symptom is a major reality distortion like denial. Believing that something is real is not real, or vice versa. For example, the hurt is flat, I tell you. To free yourself, you need to fully accept some difficult realities like this. I was raised in a low, nurturing, traumatic family by wounded, unaware versus bad adults. My personality is composed of a group semi-independent sub-selves and I am normal, not crazy. I have been ruled by a well-meaning false self for much of my life, which has caused significant pain to me and to other people. I am not responsible for my wounds of their impact so far. I am responsible for freeing my true self, reducing psychological wounds now, and from now on, I am responsible for the impact of my wounds of myself and other people. I can promote my healing by accepting the influence of a benign higher power. To recover, I will probably have to change some cherished beliefs, habits, and relationships. I need to depend on the reliability of the still small voice within me, my conscience, to guide my decisions, even if they are scary or unpleasant. I need to intentionally rebalance seeking immediate gratification versus long-term satisfaction. My mate and I may have transmitted significant wounds to our kids, though we have never intended to. I need to stop distracting myself with, for example, chemicals, TV, work, sex, money, religion, bigotry, my hobby, etc., and intentionally increase my awareness and other realities unique to your personality and situation. Paradox: you must break denials like these to recover. You will need more. You need some more recovery progress and hit bottom before you can break them. The more you progress, the easier it gets. Assess yourself honestly for psychological wounds. Doing so, A, validates your need to commit to a personal recovery, and B, gives you specific recovery targets to work towards a framework for doing so. In the 26 years I have been studying wound recovery, this is Peter Gerlach speaking, and working by my own, I've never found anyone else who proposes this healing framework for adult children of dysfunctional parents. Self-study lesson 1 in this website provides perspective and a group of self-assessment checklists to help you to make accurate evaluation. Change habitual self-neglect to genuine self-love. Most grown wooden children learn to believe early that they were worthless, unlovable, and undeserving. This manifests as a tragic wound of excessive shame. A common symptom of this wound in our culture is epidemic self-neglect, ignoring healthy diets, rest, exercise, preventive medical checkups. Replacing self-neglect and self-abuse with genuine self-appreciation and love is a natural result of a true recovery process. The empowerment requisite here is to recognize the toxic effects of self-neglect without guilt or shame and intentionally choose an attitude like I deserve to care for myself as much as I care for other important people in my life. This encourages promoting yourself to equal, living authentically from a bill of personal rights, and learning to assert your needs, perceptions, opinions calmly without guilt or anxiety. More requisites for freeing your true self. Unintentionally, seek to expand your daily unawareness. Most adults have never been encouraged to be aware of A, themselves, B, other people, C, their social behavior, D, environment around them. Many Westerns are used to being distracted by ceaseless stimulation. TV, smartphones, PC, iPods, media, etc. Yeah, they are being entertained and they are not raising their consciousness, okay? Personal awareness is essential for effective wound recovery and internal and social communication. Specifically, you will need to own your awareness of who is leading your sub-selves, your true self, or someone else. You will need to become aware of who's guiding your important other people personality. Can you do either of these now? If not, you can learn to do this. See this and this for perspective and options. Develop faith in and communion with a benign higher power. That's the 5D. Most veteran recoverers acknowledge the value of a genuine faith in God. God means love. It means light. Okay, there are more photons in the atoms. Okay, it means that you have opened your fourth chakra. Okay. You have done your grief and you have opened your fourth chakra. You are able to have compassion. One of value of such faith is the belief that we are not alone in our personal struggle and that there is a wise, attentive power to whom we can turn over problems that are too complex or stressful for us to handle on our own. A third benefit is that people of faith can find hope for relief in tolerable situations. As children, they become more emotional resilient. As children, some wounded people were taught to fear vengeful, jealous, critical God. In true recovery, they need to revise that relief and accept they do not have to perform to merit God's grace. That the people have to change the dread eternal damnation if punitive God decided they were willful sinners. Such childhood teachers promote the wounds of excessive fear, shame and guilt, and need to be replaced with health beliefs. Some pious people accept the reality of a higher power but don't seek actively to develop two-way communion of their supreme being. Pray is one way, asking for God's help and support, or two-way listening for God's responses and advice. Developing two-way communion requires awareness of self-permission to reduce distraction, meditating, listening. For more perspective on this requisite, read this and after you finish here. Two of many resources available to attain this requisite are these modified 12 steps and this brief interview with God. Value and use informed help. Many GWCs, grown wooden children, had to grow up early and be self-sufficient as young kids. Others of us had to care for young siblings where nobody cared of us. We also learned that asking for or accepting help often brought pain like scorn, rejection, and manipulation. Still others learned to accept that help from a judgmental God was granted only if they were humble, obedient, and pious. So if the first part of this requisite is adopting well attitudes, then I do not have to do it all myself. Asking for help is not weak or crutched, and that other people enjoy helping, feeling useful and good. where they are, so accepting help is a gift of the helper. We also need to believe that spiritual help is available and given freely with love, not stern conditions. We need to accept that our wounded, unaware parents meant well, but they were mistaken, uninformed about many things they taught and modeled for us kids. Then you need to learn how to choose informed help. For example, knowledgeable, empathetic support for persons, media programs, and groups who understand the true and false selves through wounded reduction. Recall, we are reviewing requisites for empowering your true self to guide your sub-selves. Another is let go of toxic wound-promoting relationships habits. Even these are your parents. You have to find the correct relationship with your parents. If they don't respect your integrity and boundaries, you have to let them go. Okay? Your integrity is more important than the pseudo love they think they have for you. Okay? They are saying your definition of a toxic relationship out loud now. Are some of your relationships toxic, stressful, and unhealthy? Often people dominated by a false self gravitate to other grown wooden children. That often means that the relationships cause most stress, conflict, hurt, disappointment, frustration, doubt, anxiety, and anger. Then serenity and satisfaction. Average grown wooden children are used to this form of our early family relationships, so we often just endure the stress. The stress is very bad for the body, okay? The requisite here is to use your awareness above to decide which relationships are nurturing and which are toxic, and then to intentionally limit and end later without guilt if the other persons won't compromise their behavior or to join you in recovery. Do this without an explanation. If you choose to explain, you can say something like this. Name, I often feel stressed, hurt, frustrated, confused, bored, disrespected, belittled, unaware, ignored, disappointed, actions, etc. In our relationship, I'm choosing to cut back all contact with you. I've tried to tell you what I need from you, but I haven't been able to honor my needs. Be prepared for false self-resistance like denials, blame, complaints, whining, threats, crying, guilt trips, rage, and so on. Respond calmly with a mutual respect attitudes and empathetic listening. Then repeat your statement above calmly with comfortable eye contact. Option: ask the person for a hearing check to confirm he or she understands what you are doing and why. Avoid lengthy explanation and bringing up blameful examples which can quickly become lose-lose arguments and dilute your assertion. You may have to persuade your people-pleaser and guilty child sub-selves and or critical people that you have legitimate human rights and don't have to endure unpleasant or harmful behavior from other people. Follow up. Make a good or any change that you commit to despite attempts to sabotage your response. Inability to follow up usually indicates a false self that has taken you over. Apart from getting this requisite aims confronting people who don't understand or respect that you are trying to free yourself and who criticize you for reducing and ending toxic relationships, especially with wounded, unaware parents and other relatives. An over-requisite is involving a high-priority recovery plan and commit to it. A plan has specific goals, steps to reach the goals, a timetable, key resources, and perhaps contingency steps. Plan B. Because self-empowerment is a challenge for most GWCs, a thoughtful, flexible plan based on thorough preparation, these requisites and accurate knowledge is vital for your eventual success. There are many ways to free yourself to lead to calm and stressful situations. The steps on the next page illustrate some key options in making your plan. Pause, breathe, and reflect. How do you feel about these requisites to free your true self to guide you? Your life decisions. View each of these requisites as a separate goal and take your time. Feel free to edit these requisites to fit your personality and situation. If you try empowerment without investing patiently on these requisites, you will risk achieving only a pseudo-temporary wound reduction. Options for freeing your true self. From 23 years of clinical experience with hundreds of people, I propose an effective way to reduce your inherited psychological wounds is inner family therapy or part work. For a in-depth explanation and illustration of part works and recovery, see the Lesson 1 guidebook, Who's Really Running Your Life. The main steps of a long-term reduction plan is using part work. 1. Get clear on the benefits of self-improvement recovery. 2. Prepare to recover, get requisites in the prior page. 3. Identify which of the 6 psychological wounds you have and who sub-selves are. 4. Define your specific recovery goals. For example, I want to replace my excessive shame and fears with self-love, confidence, and courage. 5. Study this overview of basic part works, techniques, and when to use them. 6. Study several of the many other books now devoted to recover from childhood trauma to broaden your perspective and options. 7. Seek the help of experienced PartWorks IFS coach. 8. Identify which sub-selves are causing your wounds and toxic attitudes. For example, learn which sub-selves don't know how or trust your true self and manage your life. 9. Visualize a safe inner mating place and learn how yourself can dialogue with your sub-selves. 10. Learn how to work with your powerful inner children. 11. Work creatively with each distrustful sub-self to gain its trust in yourself and higher power. 12. After gaining inner kids and guardians' trust, watch for opportunities to redo any real-life remembered childhood traumas to experience better outcomes. More options for freeing yourself and harmonizing your personality sub-selves. 13. Identify any sub-self, usually inner kids, who are living in the past, and respectfully bring them into the present. They are ready, one at a time. Reduce them to your other sub-selves. 14. Watch for opportunities to have sub-selves each help each other with their personality roles, and to be replace outdated or toxic inner family roles with new productive roles, jobs. 15. Encourage all your sub-selves take pride in their group membership and teamwork, and invite them to identify, validate, and commit to your unique life purpose. Experiment with holding inner council meetings of all your sub-selves led by your sub-self. 16. Build the habit of asking yourself all important times, who's guiding me now, myself or the other sub-self, the false self. In the later, identify which sub-self are taking you over and why. 17. As you take these steps for some months, intentionally seek high nurturing relationship settings and beliefs to replace those that promote self-dominance and moods. 18. Be open to other helpful recovery options and augment your work, like massage therapy, movement therapy, journaling, breath work, spiritual and or nature retreats, and local recovery programs and groups. If you get tired or discouraged along the way, stop, rest, and regroup. Expect temporary relapses on the old way, and keep working patiently to change. Keep a long-range view. Be comfortably alert to other people who are ready to free your true self, and offer them your version of these steps and resources as appropriate. Avoid preaching about parts work or manipulating others into trying it. That's inherently disrespectful, and it's usually a sign of your false self at work. 21. Let them come to you. Okay? Select when they see the improvements, then they're going to ask you how you have done it. Select options for relating to wounded adults and inner kids when your self is steadily guiding you. 22. Wave learning and effective communication basic skills into your recovery work. Self-study lesson 2. This will help you to manage your sub-selves and outer relationships well, and significantly speed your healing process. 23. Periodically inventory your decreasing wounds and affirm and appreciate your recovery progress benefits. And 24. Enjoy an increasingly satisfying, serene, long, productive, holistic, healthy life. Pause, breathe, and reflect. What are your inner voices, sub-self saying? Do these requisites and recovery steps seem too complex and overwhelming? They are no different than any other worthy long-term multi-step project like building a house, moving across country, or graduating from college on a trade apprenticeship. This is a skeletal outline of a dynamic, organic, multi-year healing process. It's a framework for you to tailor and fit your unique personality and situation. Experiment with several steps at once, not one at a time. The further you progress, the faster you will heal and grow. Use these options to evolve your own recovery plan. Follow the links for more perspective and detail of each option. Unlikely your sub-selves and any other young people in your life will thank you for your perseverance and determination to guard them and to break the lethal wounds and unawareness cycle. This Lesson 1 article of your wound reduction recovery provides more perspective on summary you just read. 2 keys. The heart of freeing yourself is learning how and when to connect your needy inner kids with your godparent nurtured subself and persuade distrustful guardians subselves to rely on and follow your true self and other managers and possibly to change their inner family personality role. Each of these depends on a learning to dialogue with your subselves. 1. Use your natural good parent. I have met a grown wounded child without one or more nurtured subselves. They may have been repressed, distorted, or ignored by other needy subselves, and they may not know of one or more inner kids. Guardians who fear losing their jobs and status can discount or block your nurture for helping to care of needy inner kids, which is their special talent and goal. Options. Confirm that you have one or more nurturing subselves in your inner family. Developmentally, they are usually accounts of other teams and may be spirit ones. Establish a partnership between your inner self and each nurturer through one or more inner dialogues. Agree on and affirm their value role among your subselves. Learn which inner child or inner kid they know of already and identify any kids or the nurturers don't know or aren't supporting so far. Identify any guardians that are resisting or sabotaging your nurturer from caring from specific inner kids. Common examples are the saboteur, blocker, critic, perfectionist, number, magician, procrastinator, and pessimist. Meet each of these guardians yourself and learn specifically which kids are protecting and why. How they feel about having the nurturer help them. Whether they trust your true self and higher power. Reassure each guardian they cannot be fired, killed, demoted, or ignored, and explain the value of possibly finding a valuable new role for them among the inner team of subselves. After they are satisfied with the children will be safe with the nurturer. When you feel ready, have each guardian meet with your nurturer internally to discuss how you best support each needy inner child. Stress you are promoting teamwork there and not competition, and that your other managers are there to help. Then you reach the agreement. Organize an internal meeting with each and other guardians and nurturers. Introduce everyone to explain in age-appropriate language that the nurturer is going to help care for the child from now on. Common kids needing support are scared, shamed, guilty, lost, abandoned, and angry. If the child is very young, minimize talking to have them experience the nurturer holding, soothing, and playing with them. Answer any questions and agree on a trial period to see how everyone feels about this new caregiving arrangement. See if there are many inner playmates that would please the child. If so, introduce them. Tailor these steps to fit your subselves and situations, each guardian and child, and patiently take your time. As you do, stay aware of the large goal, reducing false self-takeovers and harmonizing all your subselves under the expected leadership of yourself, other managers, and higher power. How do you feel about these options for using the talents, drive, and energy of your nurturing subselves? Reduce takeovers and help empower your true self. Experiment with them and to broaden your understanding and options. As you do, for changes to build subselves, trust in your true self. False self-takeovers occur because one or more guardians or inner kids don't know of or don't trust the self and other managers to keep everyone safe. You can identify distrustful subselves by internally interviewing each guardian and child over time. That can sound like this. After initial introduction. Self. Do you know what my inner family job is? Common answers are no or something like, yeah, you are supposed to be the leader. Or if you get no, explain in appropriate language what your role is. This assumes that the subself is aware of your other subselves. Options. If not, hold an internal council meeting of all subselves and introduce this part of them. Ask them. Self, you will tell me what your job is and what are you here to do. Often the initial answer is vague, like to make things happen or to prevent bad things from happening. Work respectfully to refine such answers, for example, by asking how do you do that or what things and related questions. How do you like your job? How long have you had it? How long did you get it? Do you have any help or do you like some help doing your job? Are there other subcells making your job harder? Is there something you would rather do? What would have happened if you stopped doing your job? Does anyone appreciate you and what have you been trying to do for us all these years. The ultimate question is, do you trust me, my true self, and other managers' sub-selves to keep us all safe? If the answer is no, then start to negotiate a tri-pillar where your sub-self is willing to not to take yourself over and to see what the self and the managers do. Option: ask, what it would it take for you to trust my judgment and to let me help you do your job? Many guardians and kids can't comprehend anyone unselfishly wanting to help them. As in childhood, and are understandably cautious and skeptical. They also may fear accepting help and losing their important status and power. Negotiating a trial, trust me, period takes patience, sensitivity, and respectful bargaining. Selected resources. There are many useful materials and programs to help you for your load reduction. Here's a sampling. All the articles and worksheets on lesson 1, 2, 3 here. These Q&A items on various topics, including personality subselves. This brief research reported on related to lesson 1. This series of inspirations, the guidebooks of lesson 1 and 2, which integrate most of these web resources, the non-profit internal family systems, IFS self-leadership website, and among others. These books on subselves and recovery by various authors, and the internet search Google, Ask, Wikipedia, and major search engines for terms like this: true self, PTSD, EMDR, toxic parents, inner wounds, trauma recovery, dysfunctional childhood, reducing fears, inner healing, reducing shame, sub-selves, self-leadership, inner family systems, psychodynamics, meditation, subpersonality, reducing guilt, inner family, cast of characters, dissociative disorder, self-awareness, reducing fears, dissociation, spiritual growth, inner healing, theophostic, reintegration, journaling, inner healing, break denial, self, true self, higher self, voice dialogue, inner voices, inner dialogues, guided imaginary, breath techniques, wakeful dreaming, message therapy. I would also add deconditioning. Use your creativity and imagination to search on similar terms and phrases. Don't expect most searched results to reflect awareness of subselves, psychological wounds, and or the wounds of unaware cycle. The results can still add your knowledge and self-empowerment options. Be aware that general term recovery often relates to addictions, illness, or physical injury, not psychological wounds. Also be aware that most self-help material, programs, and websites focus on reducing symptoms of the psychological wounds, not the wounds themselves. As such, they risk wasting your resources, relapses, frustration, and increasing personal stress over time. Status check. We have covered a lot of ground here. Take time to read, reflect, and see where you stand for freeing yourself now. A, I agree. D, I disagree. And question mark, I'm not sure, it depends on what. I have read and understand all the primary readings. I have honestly assessed whether I need to free my true self from sub-self takeovers and or I will do so in the next weeks. I am strongly motivated to gain the benefits of reducing my psychological wounds now. I accept that freeing myself to guide me in a long-term process. I have begun learning about parts work and harmonizing my sub-selves. I believe I can free my true self to guide me using the steps like those in this article. I want to explore the recovery resources above now. My true self is responding to this status check. Be still and notice your self-talk now. Recap. This 2-page internet article is one of the series of assessing and reducing inherent psychological wounds recovered. It offers essential readings on perspective freeing your true self and requires on doing that. An outline how to use part works on inner family therapy to free yourself and harmonize your inner family or self-selves. 2 key part works techniques or status check on what you do and believe about personal recovery so far, and useful recovery resources. For detailed outline of doing parts work in family therapy, see this 7-page article or the related guidebook. Thank you very much for listening to me. Comment, like, subscribe. Please leave your comments, and for requests or consultations there is and the donations there is the email down below. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.